Welcome to Soul Steps with Dr. Ren. I'm your heart-to-heart walking companion. These short, soulful reflections come straight from my morning devotion walks. Think of it as a chat with your bestie that feeds your mind and spirit. Walk with me or just listen and get ready to feel uplifted, informed, and inspired. Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. I've got a word for you today. I'm sharing from a word I got on my one-day retreat at the Ignatius House. It comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 22, starting at verse 34 to 39. And this is where the Pharisees and Sadducees are coming together trying to trip up Jesus, trying to get him all twisted up. And they say, what's the greatest commandment? Jesus says, love your God with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your soul. And that goes back to Deuteronomy. And he says the second is likened to it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And in the retreat, we actually did a meditation of as yourself. Love as yourself. I think all the other times I've heard this scripture preached, it's focused on the love your neighbor part, which is important. But love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. I cannot figure out how to get my watch to stop announcing split times. So that's going to be my job for today. Until then, I'm just going to have to splice my video. I thought I was catching it between my miles, but it was just telling me that my exercise ring was closed. Thank you. I don't care. I'm recording. Anyhow, the three parts of that commandment. Love God. Love yourself. Love others. And that is, when you think about it, something that we're so conditioned to be selfless in our service, which is important, but you have to have a self to serve. Now, don't get me wrong. Every single day, I pour out my ego at the foot of the cross and am constantly having to put my ego in check. That is not the same as our personhood. You need a self to serve. And so we focused on the reflection as you love yourself. And this was a retreat specific to Black women. So we reflected on what are the barriers to loving yourself as a Black woman. And you can fill in the blank for however you identify, whatever your identity is. So we talked about these three domains of barriers. The first is, how have you been conditioned to see yourself? I'm a woman. So I was raised to serve men specifically. When you're at an event, my mother would fix my father's plate. Always. He would sit down, she would fix his plate, he would be served first. My mother would do all the cooking and the cleaning and fold all the clothes and pack all the bags. My father's role was provision. He went out of the home and worked. She worked inside the home, which kind of created a bit of a balance because I didn't really watch my father work. I just saw my mother working. I was like, she's doing everything. What is he doing? He just comes home, lives like a king, doesn't raise a finger, doesn't get up to clear his plate, doesn't clean the kitchen. Let me tell you something. I got married. First thing I adopted was a cook, stone, clean rule. Cook, stone, clean. So if I'm cooking, which is so funny because I actually prefer to clean a lot of times because I can clean as I go now. But sometimes when we have a lot of people over, it is super helpful to have people help clean up. And maybe I don't feel like scrubbing out a pot, so I'll let my husband do that. But in hindsight, my mother was working inside the home. So it was a skewed view because I saw her place of work, whereas I did not see my father actively working until later in life. And so, as you love yourself, how have you been conditioned to see yourself? Yeah, see myself as taking care of men and their needs before mine. I saw myself as a servant in the community, selfless servant, selfless sacrifice. That was introduced in home, reinforced in my college. So as a young adult, lifetime of service to the nation. Be willing to lay down your life for a brother or a sister. That's how I was conditioned, which is great, but out of balance, not awesome, because I was also conditioned to ignore the signals coming from my body about what my body needed. That's the opposite of self-care. Self-care is, am I hungry? Do I have to go to the bathroom? I was conditioned to ignore hunger, to ignore having to go to the bathroom. Hold it. So I had to relearn those things, and it still served as a bit of a barrier. I was also conditioned to work. Work. You are valuable because of your work. Sorry, my hand is frozen now. I cannot feel my fingertips at all. So we're gonna have to modify. Ooh, that's better. So conditioned to work. This goes back in my ancestry to enslavement and plantation politics, that your only value was of the work that you could produce. And this has been passed down through the intergenerational transmission of trauma, epigenetics. Look it up. It's a real thing. And also reinforced with my family upbringing on the work. The man that doesn't work doesn't eat. I don't even know where that is in the Bible, but it's there. Man that don't work don't eat. So, but I was out of balance, so I kind of adopted this workaholic mentality, and I did not value rest. I thought rest, you sleep when you're dead. That's what I said most of my adult life. Sleep is for the dead. This is not of God. It's not Jesus's example. Jesus was constantly running off in the woods, resting, sleeping on the boat when people were afraid they were going to die. He's like, I'm tired. You ain't see me out there with them hordes of people. I done healed all them people. The power went out of me. And you out here stressing me out like the God of all creation going to have me die in a boat after all that. I wish I was there in Jesus' time. I wish I was one of those disciples, because I would know how he really talked. I mean, I know he spoke Aramaic and it probably sounded all holy, but I got to put a little hood on his accent, because that's how I hear Jesus like, you got to be kidding me. I just fell asleep. These people don't wake me up. And then the opposite. I'm about to die up in here. I've been trying to tell y'all, and I'm trying to get my mind right for everything that's coming my way. And I told y'all to stand guard, and you sleep. You sleep. I'm the one going through all this stuff. I get you one job. Twice it happened. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane like, dang. These people, right? So Jesus was taking care of himself. Jesus is our example for self-care, for caring for ourselves. So sometimes you gotta reevaluate those conditions, how we have been conditioned to see ourselves. The second reflection was, who benefits from you not taking care of yourself the way that Christ has called you to? And I figured this one out with work. I realized that people say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I was busy. I was that busy person. And it's true, because I would do things fast. That's how I get so much done. So you got to review grant. Yeah, I'll review that. Okay, can you look at this paper, give me feedback? Sure. Oh, I got this extra project. Can you work on that? Okay. Then I'm looking at the things I have to do, and I'm staying all late, finishing the things that only I can do. And then my home life, completely neglected. I was so out of balance there because other people were benefiting from the fact that I did not take care of myself in terms of sleeping. I never took a lunch break. Was always working through meals. A lot of people benefited from being out of balance. Family benefited. And so that means that when you start making a change, the system starts to notice. It's like, wait, why aren't you answering your phone? Oh, because I have do not disturb on. Oh, did you see my email? No? I said it was out of office. I said, I will not check any emails sent between this time and that time. I'm not checking them. If you want something, schedule your email to come when I'm back in office. I'm not going to spend the first day back in office reading 100,000 emails. I wish I could show you a screenshot of, I think I might take a screenshot and post it, of how many unread emails I have. It's got to be over 100,000. In my Gmail, that's my private email. A lot of spam in there. But my work email too. I had to request the extra size of my mailbox at my academic job because I had so much mail. And a lot of it was unread. So the last thing I want to do is spend hours back in office reading emails, because you know what I found? If something's that important, they will call you. Someone's going to track you down. So those boundaries about how many hours I'm going to work, that I still don't even have a laptop. I recently asked my job, like, I'm traveling more. It might be helpful to have a laptop, but for the past 5 years, I have not had a laptop. I refused to get one because I needed to practice boundaries with working, because prior to that, I was working all the time. Laptop in the bathroom, laptop on the beach, laptop at the restaurant. Okay, maybe I never took a laptop. I might have taken a laptop to the restaurant once. Constantly reading, writing, responding. It was so out of order, so out of order. But think about how many people benefited from that hyper-functioning, high-productive version of myself. A lot of people benefited, and a lot of people had to make an adjustment when I shut it all the way down. Shut it all the way down and built it back up. Now, I still get a lot done. When I am functional, I'm hyper-functional. When I am my category of non-functional, I'm still super functional. So last year this is killing me. This is so killing me. I've just done another mile, in case you're wondering. So my original plan, I got to figure out how to turn this off. So, good morning. But yeah, that is the deal. A lot of people benefited from the hyper-functioning. So once you answer that question, that'll help you see the way out. To notice there might be some people that you have to have a conversation with to say, look, I'm making a change. I'm just letting you know now, I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, Z anymore. I have this book. I have books everywhere in my house. I have books in my bathroom. One of the books I have in my guest bathroom downstairs is a little book for overcommitted people. It's a book of like statements of what you can say. Like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get to that right now. I have other things I'm focused on. And I got that book to help. I didn't even have a language for no. I had no language for that. I had no language to communicate what I couldn't do. And so that little book gave me some words I could use. So you got to think about that as a barrier and figure out how you're going to overcome that. The third one was, how has society benefited from your imbalance, your being imbalanced? And in our case, we were talking about as Black women, how does society benefit from that role? You can go back to that Mamie caricature, the nurturer, or the emotional labor of educating, majority populations about our experiences. So those barriers do get in the way of taking care of myself, and you have to have a self to serve. I'm just going to keep saying that. That's my resolution. I was praying today because I'm doing this podcast for Advent, and they're focusing on prayer. And I made a resolution yesterday to make a resolution every day. So I was trying to be what's my resolution for today? I don't know. And so I just came up with it. You have to have a self to serve. You have to have a self to serve. So that my resolution for today is that I'm going to be the best self that I can be so that I can serve. In the service of service, need a self to serve. So I'm going to write that down on a piece of paper. I'm going to carry it along with me today. And I got to get some dissolving paper. Someone gave me the idea to get dissolving paper and release it in water. I'm going through a whole water era now. So I think I'm going to make that resolution, write it down, and I'm going to find some tissue paper, because I have some tissue paper somewhere in my house. Write it on tissue paper, carry it around, and then I'm going to dissolve it in water, and then I'm going to pour it out as libation to my ancestors to draw strength from where I've come from. That's deep right there. See how I just mixed it all up? You got to mix it all up. You got to draw from all the truths to get to the capital T truth. That's what I'm going to do at the end of the day, because I'm a little moon child. So that's going to be my end of day ritual, as I pray and evaluate, examine, how did I live today? Did I take care of myself in a way that allowed me to serve? And I'm going to dissolve it in water, pray, offer up prayers and thanks to God for his strength and provision, and then pour out libation to continue to draw strength from my ancestors, who now include my father, my sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, unnamed ancestors from Nigeria and the Yoruba tribe. And I don't know about the other ancestors. I'm going to have to go through a whole series, because I got all these different kinds of ancestry. That's going to take me a long time to go through the other realms. But there's some European stuff I got to deal with, because that's in me too. So I got to deal with that. Some healing, integration. Figure out how to integrate it, because it's all part of my story. Even if they got there through oppression, and they got there through violation of the dignity of a human body, through forced entry into my DNA. They're there now. So what are we going to do? Can you be redeemed? You're going to have to be redeemed, because that's here. We're here. It's in my DNA. So, and I've got to teach my children how to be integrated and whole with all of their parts. Can't reject the part just because you don't like it or because you don't understand it. So that's the meditation that we had on our retreat. The other big theme from the retreat was being present in the now, and that has come up for me the whole week before the retreat. So I was like, okay, that's another thing to add to the list, to just focus on being still. The Advent meditation we're doing is on waiting well, which you can do. You can listen along. You don't have to buy the book. You can follow along. Father Mike Schmidt has a daily video on that. You can get on the Ascension app, and also podcasts, I think. It's not going to be hard to find. So waiting well, being still, being in the now, and not just like wasting waiting time. So we talked last night on our family devotion about like being on your phone, scrolling, and all the times that we spend waiting in line and the ways in which we can't just be present while we're waiting. And so I don't think they were feeling they probably knew a challenge was coming. I didn't drop it on them last night. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to do some Socratic method, have them come up with a little no screen challenge, maybe for just an hour or 2 hours. I asked them last night, what would you do while waiting if you didn't have your phone? One of them said they would play basketball. No surprise who that one was. The other one said they would clean their room. And then the other one said they didn't know. So we're going to go back to that. And then I'm going to, give them a challenge on just adding 1 hour of intentional time to your day instead of waiting. Or maybe I'll even do a shorter period of time to say, like, instead of, like, when you notice that you're picking up your phone, and I think for a lot of them, it's in the evening, as they're winding down, it's become a habit to just like binge watch a show while you're walking around the house. And it's like, man, what would my family be like if we were just drenched in the Word of God in all our spare time? I can tell you it'd be great. It would be great. Because my spiritual practices take forever, I do them all throughout the day. I don't always, it's late now in the day. You see how bright it is? So there's a lot I haven't gotten done, which means I'm going to have to do it while I'm driving to go visit my mom. I'm going to have to do it, on my break time. So the consequence is I'm pouring into my mind a lot of things throughout the day, which means I can hear from God in a different way than if I'm just, saying my bedtime prayers or grace. So that's it. I have no idea how long I've been on because I've had 3 different segments. So, but since I didn't record a video yesterday, just kind of catch up with the soul steps. Now I got to get myself together, come up with a 3-minute snack for the gram. But remember, move your body with love and intention today. And always remember that I love you. Bye.